All right, men, let's close this the right way. We've talked about attention. We've talked about silence. We've talked about power, validation, emotional control, and the uncomfortable truth that sometimes the strongest move is to step back instead of lean in. Now, here's the controversial part. If a woman loses interest because you stopped chasing her, she was never interested in you. She was interested in the attention. Let that sit for a second. Ignoring a woman is not about playing games. It's not about punishing her. It's not about ego. It's about seeing clearly. When you stop overgiving, over-texting, over-explaining, and over-proving, what remains is the truth. Either she leans closer or she fades away. And that truth, it saves you time. It saves you energy. It saves you heartbreak. But here's the part many men don't want to hear. If you are ignoring her just to manipulate her, she will feel it. And it won't work long term. Real power comes from genuine detachment, from having purpose, from not needing constant reassurance. Ignoring only works when you actually don't need the outcome. That's the lesson. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever pulled back and watched her come closer? Or have you ignored someone and lost her completely? Drop your experiences in the comments. I read them. I pay attention. And I reach out. We're building something here. Not just dating advice, but awareness, growth, control. Because at the end of the day, the man who can walk away calmly will always have more power than the man who begs to stay. Let's talk about it below. 1. Scarcity creates value. Men, let's go deeper into this. The moment you become constantly available, you lower your perceived value. That's not emotional. That's psychological. People value what feels limited. When something is always there, always responding, always ready, the excitement drops. The mystery disappears. And when the mystery disappears, attraction often follows. Think about how you feel when someone replies instantly every single time. There's no tension, no anticipation, no curiosity. Now think about when someone takes their time. You wonder, you think, you check your phone. That small space creates emotional movement. When you ignore a woman strategically, meaning you are not over-pursuing, you introduce space. Space creates questions. Questions create interest. Interest builds attraction. It's not about disappearing for weeks. It's about not being predictable, not being overly eager, not responding like she is the only thing happening in your life. Here's where most men fail. They think more effort equals more attraction. So they double text, they overcompliment, they instantly reply, they cancel plans for her. What happens? She feels no challenge, no uncertainty, and humans are wired to chase what feels slightly out of reach. Now understand this clearly. This only works if your life is genuinely full. If you ignore her but sit at home staring at your phone, that's not power, that's insecurity. Real scarcity comes from having priorities, work, fitness, goals, friends, purpose. When you are busy building your life, delayed responses happen naturally. Let's make this simple. Imagine you meet a woman and you start texting. Instead of replying within seconds every time, you respond when you are actually free. Sometimes that's an hour later, sometimes later in the evening. You don't apologize for being busy. You don't over-explain. You just respond calmly. Suddenly, she starts leaning in more. She sends longer messages. She asks what you're doing. But why? Because she feels that your attention is earned, not guaranteed. Scarcity is not cruelty. It's control. It's showing that your time has weight. And when your time has weight, your presence becomes valuable. Remember this. If she feels she can have you anytime, she will treat you like anytime. If she feels she has to qualify for your attention, she will value it more. 2. Silence triggers curiosity. Men, let's continue. Silence is uncomfortable, and that's exactly why it works. When you stop filling every gap with words, you create psychological tension. Most men are afraid of silence. They rush to text again. They rush to explain themselves. They rush to fix a delay. But silence, when controlled, speaks louder than constant communication. When you always respond fast and always keep the conversation alive, she never has to wonder about you. There is no mystery, no mental space for her to think about you. But the moment you pull back slightly, her mind starts working. She starts asking herself questions. Is he busy? Is he losing interest? Is he talking to someone else? That curiosity creates emotional movement, and emotional movement builds attraction. You felt this yourself. When someone you like goes quiet, your brain doesn't relax. It searches for answers. It replays conversations. It checks notifications. That's human nature. Silence forces reflection. Now understand this clearly. Silence is not coldness. It's not ignoring her out of anger. It's emotional discipline. Instead of reacting immediately to everything, you choose when to engage. You don't chase the conversation. You let it breathe. And when it breathes, she feels the space. Most men talk themselves out of attraction. They over-explain, they overshare, they try too hard to keep momentum. But attraction often grows in the gaps, not in the noise. When you're silent sometimes, you communicate something powerful. You are not desperate for constant validation. You are not glued to your phone. You are not emotionally dependent on her responses. That alone shifts the dynamic. Think about how many times you've double texted because she didn't reply quickly. That energy screams anxiety. Now imagine doing nothing instead. Calm, relaxed, focused on your life. That energy feels different. She feels it too. Silence creates space. Space creates curiosity. Curiosity creates pursuit. And when she begins to pursue, even slightly, the balance changes. You're no longer the one trying to prove yourself. She starts leaning in. So remember this: the man who controls his silence controls the frame, not by being distant, but by being grounded enough to not chase every moment of attention. 3. Emotional control is power. Men, this is where most of you lose the game without even realizing it. Ignoring a woman is not about her. It's about you. It's about whether you can control your emotions when things don't go your way. When she takes long to reply, when she cancels plans, when she seems distant, most men react, and reaction is weakness. The moment you react emotionally, you hand over control. You send long messages. You question her interest. You act cold out of hurt. You show frustration. She sees it. And once she sees she can shake you emotionally, the power dynamic shifts. Emotional control is attractive because it signals strength. It shows that your mood is not controlled by her behavior. It shows that you have stability. Women test this, sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously, not because they are evil, but because they want to feel secure with someone grounded. If small things disturb you, she will sense instability. Ignoring in this context means refusing to react emotionally to minor shifts. She replies, "Late?" You stay calm. She seems busy? You stay focused on your life. She doesn't validate you? You don't seek reassurance. That steadiness is rare, and rare things are valued. You have to understand something important. Attraction is not built on emotional chaos. It is built on emotional certainty. When she feels that you are centered, that you are not easily shaken, she relaxes. But when you constantly seek confirmation of where you stand, you create pressure, and pressure kills desire. Think about how exhausting it is when someone constantly needs reassurance from you. It drains you. The same applies here. If you need constant signs that she likes you, you become emotionally heavy. Ignoring is sometimes just emotional discipline. It's choosing not to respond from insecurity. It's choosing silence over drama. It's choosing patience over panic. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Many men struggle with this because they attach too fast. They invest emotionally before earning consistency. Then when her energy fluctuates, they feel threatened. Control your attachment speed. Control your reactions. Control your words. The man who can remain steady when things are uncertain becomes the emotional anchor. And the emotional anchor is the one who holds the power. Attention is a reward, not a right. Men, this is where you need to wake up. Your attention is valuable, but most of you give it away like it's nothing. You text good morning every day without effort from her. You compliment constantly. You respond instantly. You make yourself emotionally available 24/7. And then you wonder why she slowly stops appreciating you. Attention works like a reward. If someone earns it, they value it. If someone receives it, no matter what they do, they take it for granted. It's human nature. This isn't about being cruel. It's about balance. When you ignore a woman at the right moments, you are teaching her something without saying a word. You are teaching her that access to you is not automatic, that your time and energy are earned through mutual effort. Many men operate from fear of losing her, fear that if they don't constantly show interest, she will disappear. So they overcompensate, they overgive, they overvalidate. But overgiving creates imbalance. And imbalance kills respect. Respect is tied to boundaries. When you always respond immediately, always agree, always show up, you remove any sense of challenge. And challenge creates excitement. If she cancels plans and you instantly rearrange your entire schedule, what does that signal? That your life revolves around her, that she holds priority over everything else. That is not attractive. When attention is a reward, it becomes meaningful. If she invests, you invest. If she shows effort, you match it. If she withdraws, you do not chase. You pull back, calmly. No drama, no speeches, just reduced access. That silence communicates more than arguing ever could. And here's something you need to understand. Women are used to constant attention, messages, likes, compliments, validation from everywhere. When you are different, when you are measured, selective, controlled, you stand out. Not because you are louder, but because you are rarer. This is not manipulation. It's self-respect. You don't reward inconsistency. You don't reward mixed signals. You don't reward disrespect. If she feels your absence when she lowers effort, she learns that your presence is connected to value. So remember this clearly. Your attention is currency. If you spend it everywhere without standards, it loses value. But if you invest it wisely, it becomes powerful. 5. Pulling back reveals true intentions. Men, this is where things get real. Sometimes ignoring a woman is not about creating attraction. It's about discovering the truth. When you are always present, always initiating, always driving the interaction, you never actually know how she feels. You're carrying the entire connection. The moment you pull back, the truth shows up. When you reduce effort, you create space for her to either step forward or disappear, and both outcomes are valuable. Most men are afraid of this moment because deep down, they don't want the answer. They'd rather keep chasing than risk finding out she wasn't that invested. But clarity is power. If she genuinely likes you, your absence will register. She will reach out, she will ask questions, she will initiate, effort will come from her side. Maybe not dramatically, maybe not instantly, but you will see movement. If she doesn't, that tells you everything you need to know. And that saves you months of confusion. Here's something simple. Imagine you're always the one texting first, always the one planning, always the one pushing conversations forward. One day, you decide to stop initiating. You stay calm. You focus on your routine. Days pass. Suddenly she texts you asking why you've been quiet. Or she checks in casually. That small shift shows interest. It shows she noticed your absence. That's information you would never get if you kept leading everything. On the other hand, if you pull back and nothing happens, you also gain something powerful: clarity. No mixed signals, no guessing games, no false hope, just reality. Pulling back is like removing your hand from a wall to see if it stands on its own. If it collapses, it was never strong. And that's okay. Because now you can redirect your energy somewhere that is mutual. Understand this clearly. Ignoring is not revenge. It's a filter. It separates attention seekers from genuine interest. It separates temporary excitement from real desire. The man who is brave enough to pull back is the man who respects his own time. And time is your most valuable asset. When you stop forcing connections, you start attracting the right ones. 6. Detachment builds attraction. Men, this is the deeper layer most of you ignore. Ignoring a woman only works when it comes from real detachment, not fake detachment, not forced silence while you're secretly overthinking. Real detachment means you're okay with any outcome. You're okay if she stays. You're okay if she leaves. That energy changes everything. When you're attached too quickly, you become reactive. Every delayed reply feels like rejection. Every short message feels like a threat. You start adjusting yourself to keep her interested. You filter your words. You overanalyze. You try to impress. That subtle pressure is felt, and pressure pushes people away. Detachment removes pressure. When you're detached, you don't chase responses. You don't obsess over read receipts. You don't need constant reassurance. You live your life. You focus on your goals. You move forward regardless of her mood. That independence is attractive because it signals strength. It tells her you're choosing her, not clinging to her. There's a difference. A man who needs a woman behaves differently from a man who wants a woman. Neediness feels heavy. Wanting feels free. When you ignore from a place of need, it backfires. She senses you're trying to provoke a reaction. But when you're genuinely detached, your silence feels natural, calm, unforced. You're not performing. You're simply unavailable at times because your life is full. And fullness is magnetic. Ask yourself honestly, if she walked away today, would your entire world collapse? If the answer is yes, that's not attraction. That's dependency. And dependency weakens your position. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you don't lose yourself. You don't abandon your routine. You don't sacrifice your standards. You don't over-prioritize someone who hasn't earned that place. When you operate from abundance, meaning you know there are other opportunities, other women, other paths, you relax. You smile more. You speak freely. You don't try to control the outcome. And ironically, when you stop trying to control it, you become more attractive because confidence grows in freedom, not fear. So remember this, the strongest position is wanting her, but not needing her. That mindset makes ignoring effortless, and effortless is powerful. 7. Stop chasing validation and wake up. Men, this is where I'm going to challenge you. A lot of you are not ignoring women because you can't, not because you don't understand the strategy, but because you're addicted to validation. You like the replies. You like the attention. You like knowing someone attractive is responding to you. And so you keep chasing that feeling. That's not attraction. That's ego feeding. When you constantly check your phone hoping she texted, you're not in control. When your mood shifts based on her energy, you're not leading anything. You're reacting, and reacting is the opposite of power. Ignoring a woman becomes impossible when you rely on her attention to feel valuable. That's the real issue most men avoid. You say you want control, you say you want respect, but you panic the moment she pulls back. Why? Because you've attached your self-worth to her interest. That's dangerous. Wake up. One woman's attention does not define your value. If she loses interest because you stopped over-pursuing, that's not a loss. That's a filter. If she only responds when you chase, that's not connection. That's conditioning. And you trained her to expect it. Many of you created the dynamic you now complain about. You text all day from the start. You over-compliment. You over-invest emotionally before she's earned it. Then when she becomes distant, you feel betrayed. But you skip the foundation. You built intensity without stability. Ignoring, in its healthiest form, is self-correction. It's you stepping back and saying, I will not overextend myself for temporary validation. It's you deciding that your time, energy, and attention are earned through mutual effort. And here's the truth you need to hear. If you can't walk away, you don't have options. And if you don't have options, you will tolerate behavior you shouldn't. Build your life. Build your body. Build your finances. Build your circle. When your world is strong, you won't cling to one source of attention. You'll choose, not beg. So stop chasing validation. Stop fearing silence. Stop acting from scarcity. If you want real control, it starts with controlling yourself. Conclusion. Men, let's bring this home the right way. You've just learned that ignoring a woman isn't about mind games. It's about discipline. It's about emotional control. It's about scarcity. It's about detachment. But most importantly, it's about self-respect. If you ignore her to manipulate her, you've already lost. If you ignore her because you're grounded, focused, and unwilling to overextend yourself, you win regardless of the outcome. Here's the controversial truth to end this. The moment you stop needing her attention is the moment she starts valuing yours. That shift changes everything, because now you're not chasing, you're selecting, you're not reacting, you're deciding. And that energy is rare. I want you to think about your own experiences. Have you ever overchased and watched attraction fade? Have you ever pulled back and seen her lean in? Or maybe you ignored someone and she disappeared completely. Be honest. Drop your experience in the comments. I read them. I pay attention and I reach out. This isn't just content. This is a conversation. We're building awareness together. We're sharpening mindset together because at the end of the day, the man who can walk away calmly holds the real power. And if that statement makes you uncomfortable, good. That's where growth begins. Let's talk below.